Um, Hello everyone. So I'm going to show you, or this is a video recording of the dictionary project that we worked on earlier on. So, like I said, we are using the Thinker library. So, like every other library, we have to import it, right? We have to import the library itself. So, we're going to say from this library. Sorry, this is not a Python file, so let me create a new Python file. I'll call this UI demo dot py. So I can now say from the Thinker library, I now want to import tk, which is going to be our main window. Then I'll import entry. So entry now is the text field where people can type whatever data they want to enter. So that's why it's named entry, right? Data entry. Then button. I guess I don't have to explain what button is. So then let's import the label. So label now is an uneditable text, like text you don't want anybody to edit. So to create our window where all our components are going to be, we can now create, we're going to say, let's just call it window. It's equal to tk. K is lowercase. Remember, it's case sensitive. So we can now set the geometry for it. So it's going to be, let's make it 500 by 300. Then we can set the title as well. So we can say title is equal to, let's call this my dictionary. So to display our window, we have to now say window dot main loop, and this will display our window. So let me run this and let's see what we have. So let me use my terminal here. So I'll run this using Python 3. So at this stage, if you run this, you're going to have this window here, which is an empty window that is 500 in width and 300 in height and has the title my dictionary. So we have a blank canvas right now. So on our blank canvas, we can now enter what we want. So what this library does is, as you add components to the window, is going to add them in the order in which they appear. So if you start with entry first, the entry is going to appear first. So let's create an entry. So let me call this let me just call this entry entry text is equal to entry. So this entry that we're using now is from this library, since we imported it from this entry class. So we're going to use the entries. Then we now have to set the master. So the master now is the window you want to display it on. So we want to display it on this window, so the master is going to be window. So once we do this, we can now run. If we run it, see, we still have the same thing, and that's because we need to add we need to now pack the entry. So we can now say entry text dot pack. So if you do this now, we should be able to see our entry text. So we're going to see blank. So you see we have our blank entry. We have our blank entry text. So let's create our button. So we can have a button here. So let's just call this search, short for button. So this will be button, and the master itself is also window. Then we can now set the text, which will be the label on the button. So we can call our button, let's say, search or case, let's just call it translate. Let's label it translate. So at this point, you should know that if we run this, the button itself is not going to show because we've not run pack yet. So if I rerun this, we won't have our button. So we need to now call pack. So just like the same way we did for this entry, we now have to say search button dot pack. So now let's rerun and see what we have. So we have our entry and we have our translate. So if you notice, it's in the order in which they appear. So if I switch this now, if I take this button here instead, right, the button will be at the top. So you can see our button is now at the top. So this is because Python itself is an interpreted language. So an interpreted language basically goes line by line to find to figure out if your code is correct and to render or run or execute your program. So it goes line by line, and this is one of the reasons why Python is one of the easiest languages to get started with, compared to compiled languages, which you'll find out about later on. So since we have our button and we have our label, what we're going to do now is we have our button, we have our entry, we can now create our label. So I'll just put the label in between the two. So I'll now have results label. So go to label. Once again, the master is window, so can I put window? I'll just leave this as it is first, then I can now say result not pack. Then let's have our dictionary. So let me look for the dictionary from earlier on. Just add the dictionary. So we have our dictionary. Then next we need a function to search for this, to search through this dictionary. So we're going to define our function. Let's call the search function. Then we're going to pass in an argument, word. So once we pass in the argument, we now have to check first of all if the word even exists in our dictionary. So we can say if word in Hausa dictionary, then we can now let's just do print first. So we can now print the value of the word. So remember, the word itself that will be entered is the key. So when we search for the value, so this is the key and this is the value, because a dictionary is a key value pair. So this is the key and this is the value. So if you're looking at a normal English dictionary, you are going to have maybe the word here, com, and the definition of com. But in this case, we're just using it to do a translation. Say the equivalent of com here is zo, the equivalent of go is j, like that. So since we pass the key here, it's going to find the equivalent of whatever word is entered there. Then yeah, so at this stage now, we can run our application. We're not going to update the label yet. Our label will still be blank, but let's just see what it looks like. I think before we do that, we have to wire in the command. And I'll say command lambda search, and the search now is going to be whatever is entered in this entry text. So whatever the user enters here, we have to get that value, and to do that now we now have to say entry text dot get. So this is now going to get the value. This is now going to get the value of whatever is entered into our text field. So let's run this now. So let me enter com and hit translate. So you can see our result here. Since we are just printing, you can see the result here. Com. If I change this to go, you see the equivalent. If I say eat, you can see the equivalent here. So to constantly update our labels, we need another we need to import another class, which is the string var. So string variable. So we're using this now, so you can now see our result. Our result is going to be equal to, it's going to be a string var. Then for our label now, we are going to add a text variable. So you can now see text variable is equal to result. So whenever the result changes, this string var is going to constantly update the new value of the result. So if you search for go first, it will give you J. If you search for sit, it's going to give you, you're not going to have this this method that we have here down here where it's now cascading downwards. So to now display the result, we now have to say result dot set. So we are now setting our result now to this, which is the translation. Remember, we're printing it here, but now we want to display it here. Then lastly, if this itself is not, if the word is not found, we have to give our users a friendly message. So we can now say else, and if you now you can now do result dot set, just a word not found. So once you do this, if the word itself doesn't exist, you can now say word not found. So let's rerun again. So let's rerun, let's enter this. So you can see we have our translation. Let's enter this that doesn't exist, word not found. Then if you enter sit, you can see the translation. So this is just quickly to show you what we did in class for those people that were not able to get the concept, and since this stuff is vital to your progress, I decided to make this video. So now let me add just one more thing. So let's say we are creating another window. So to create another window now, we're going to use we're going to say def, it's a new window. Then can now have, let's say, window 2 is equal to tk. So now have window 2 dot geometry, and let's say this is a smaller window. So the other one was 500 by 300. Let's make this 400 by 250. Then let's set the title window 2. By the way, this is supposed to be window 2, not window, so that we don't edit this, the previous window. And now can now set the title. The title, let's just call this, let's say physics stuff. So then we can say window 2 dot main loop to display it, right? So in our main class now, we can now create a button that triggers this function to display this window. So let me create another button and say and let's call this window 2 button is equal to button, then the master is window, and the text is equal to, let's say, open physics. Then our command, so in this case now our command is, it doesn't need a lambda because we're not passing in any argument, so we'll just say new window. and if we have everything here correctly, you should be able to trigger a new window. So let's pack this first. Window 2 or pack, not it won't display. So let me close the one I just opened and we run. So you have this, so I can say and this will give you my translation, go translation. And if I click this, we should have another window, which is this one. I'm using multiple monitors, so I have to drag them across. So even if you close it, I'll still reopen the window again. So this is basically to guide you guys in case you want to do something that has multiple windows. So just like the way we have all these things in all these components on our main window, similarly you can have them on your second window. So let's say if I carry this entry text now, I can add it here as well. So I can add it here, but I have to do the indentation. So if I indent this, so now instead of it being window, now this is going to now be window 2. Then let me add let me not add a text variable, let's just leave it at window 2 like this and run. So I'll drag this back. If I open physics window, so you see our physics stuff now has an entry text. So if you have, so let's say your project to do like multiple calculations, you have physics, let's say force, velocity, volume of a cylinder, area of a circle, sector, and so on. You can have the buttons here, then you open separate windows that do those particular actions. So I hope this helps you guys, and good luck.